Hi there and welcome to today's video, which is all about not just surviving, but thriving on a red-eye flight. Especially ladies, if you're over 50 like me and you travel a lot, it just gets harder, doesn't it, as we get older, because we like our creature comforts of a bed. So the idea of sitting up on a plane in the middle of the night and the early hours of the morning flying somewhere can be somewhat daunting, but it doesn't have to be. And that's what I wanted and labeled this video, not only survive, but actually thrive through actually taking a red-eye flight. Now, the first thing you're saying is, but Raewyn, do I even have to take a red-eye flight? Great question. At the end of the day, I used to do a lot of red-eye flights when I was a road warrior in my consulting days. I clocked up over 2 million frequent flyer miles in my time. And so I've definitely done my fair share of red-eye flights. And you know what? I haven't done a few for a year and took one recently, which prompted me to actually drop this out to you. Because I actually had developed a process and a set of routines and habits that are really super simple, but they take a lot of the anxiety, the stress, and discomfort out of taking a red-eye flight. And at the end of the day, sometimes it's just unavoidable. We actually, from a timing point of view, we just can't avoid taking that flight because we want to get to our amazing destination as soon as we can. Maybe we've got commitments before we get there. So, if you have to do a red-eye flight, you have to do one. So let's actually enable you to thrive on that. A lot of what I'm going to share with you here today is all about things that you do before you actually get on the red-eye flight. And I know that sounds a bit counterintuitive, but bear with me. And again, if you're enjoying these videos that I put out, especially because they're for you ladies, if you're over 50 and wanting to travel more, and you find yourself traveling solo, then this is the place you want to be. All right. Let me tell you a quick story. I actually missed a red-eye flight, and this is why my number one tip and first thing to do is to double, triple, quadruple check your actual flight itinerary and ticket. And the reason why I put that out there first and foremost is a red-eye flight is a flight that leaves at night and arrives in the early hours of the morning at its destination. As a result, you're often leaving to go to the airport on a day before the flight leaves, meaning you go to the airport in the... Stop. Okay, here's the trick. Often red-eye flights leave and depart the airport just after midnight. It could be 5 past, 10 past, 15 minutes past midnight, which is a different day to the day you need to show up at the airport, or the evening of, more importantly, to actually be there to board your flight. And I can tell you from very disappointing experience, my husband and I, many moons ago, took a flight from New Zealand to the United States. We were staying with family and we were enjoying a lovely dinner. And after dinner, we were all chilled out and relaxed after a couple of glasses of wine. And this was back in the days where a cell phone was the size of a brick. So you can picture this. So I toddled off down to the guest bedroom where we were staying, and I pulled out my paper itinerary just to double check, for getting to the airport the next night, only to discover, to my horror, that we were meant to be at the airport right now. Our flight was going to be departing in about an hour, and there was no way we could get from where we were across to the airport where we were staying in the US. Always double, triple, quadruple check the evening you need to be at the airport versus your actual departure date and time in the middle of the night. Okay, so that's the first trick, and that alone takes a lot of anxiety and stress out of things. As I said, a lot of the things that I do in my little process that I developed over all those years of being on red-eye flights was the things that I need to do the day before, not the day of, but the day before. So I talked about double, quadruple checking your ticket. Another thing is I always have my bag packed and ready to go a complete 24 hours before I have to actually go to the airport. And why do I do that? At the end of the day, I've found that red-eye flights is all about getting ourselves in a very relaxed and calm state. And so the more things we have to think about last minute and kind of go down the checklist, the more anxious we're going to be and more tense and obviously less relaxed. And that's not the way you want to be. So always have that bag packed the evening before. The next thing is check into your flight a full 24 hours before your flight departs. And that's the amazing things about airlines and technology today, is that we can do that. In fact, we get those reminders say, hey, it's 24 hours from your flight, you can check in now. Absolutely do that, because I'm doing it for two reasons. One, you know you're booked and ready to go on that flight and checked in, so it's out of the way and you can relax on the evening of your departure. Two, make sure that everything's going to be okay, that you got your assigned seat for whatever reason, the bag is checked. And number three, it's to save you time when you do get to the airport, so that the less interactions you're having and being stimulated at the airport is going to keep you in that very relaxed mode that you want to be. The other thing I do well ahead of time is I plan what I'm going to do on the flight. I know you're looking at me with giving me the hairy eyebrow and going, Raewyn, I want to go to sleep. I know. That is the goal on a red-eye flight, is to get as much sleep or nap time as possible before you land at your destination in the early hours of the morning. But ladies, let's face it, we often struggle to sleep in our own bed at home, given we're over 50 and, our bodies just aren't the same as a 20-year-old body anymore. So, there might be the chance that you're not able to take a nap or sleep on your flight, because again, red-eye flights tend to be flights that are like short to medium duration. It's not like taking a long-haul international flight. So often they're only about 4, 5, maybe maximum 6 hours. So you really want to be able to rest. But if that's not possible, you do not want to be sitting upright, vertical, tray up, sitting on the plane, absolutely wired for sound and ready to go. You want to have something else that's going to keep you in a relaxed state, or certainly, if nothing else, distract you. So some of the things that I do is I typically not only have a phone, but I'll often have an iPad or a laptop with me. But even if you have just your phone with you, this will totally work. So I make sure, again, a good 24 to 48 hours before I have to depart to the airport, that I've downloaded some great videos, maybe a TV show that I want to binge on. I'll load down some podcasts, and I'll make sure my music playlist, and I have like a nice soothing one, that I've got something really chill to listen to. And the reason why I have all that entertainment on my phone or iPad or laptop is I don't rely on the fact that there may be an entertainment device in the back of your seat on the plane. Because again, depending on the airline, depending on the flight duration, etc., the plane type, there may not be one. And secondly, even if there is, I always want to be that good passenger, not that annoying one that has, the bright light of the screen showing. And so, if you have to use your monitor or the built-in entertainment system of the plane, it's a little bit more difficult, because that's going to shine a light on your fellow passengers sitting beside you. Whereas if you have your iPhone or your laptop or like a tablet or an iPad, you can kind of tilt it around and kind of away from your fellow passengers. Another thing you want to do, I talked about checking in, and well before that, please make sure that you actually, if the airline offers it, that take their text messaging, their voicemails, phone calls, and emails about any reminders for your flight. And the reason why I suggest this is flights can still get delayed, and B, you've got that reassurance over and above what you've already done, that, you're going to get those reminders of what's actually going on and when. So once you've done all that, the big thing on the evening of, before you even head off to the airport, is to relax. And so depending how you like to do things, I actually like to have an early evening meal, and then I actually like to get horizontal. And that even if I don't sleep, I just want to lie out flat on a bed. Because again, even if you're traveling business class, you know, a lot of those 4, 5, 6 hours, 5-hour flights don't have pods to lie down. So you'll still be sitting up vertically, albeit a bit more space. Take a nap. If you're a nap person, make sure you set an alarm. I'm not great at naps. I tend to wake up as a grumpy cat. So if nothing else, I'll lie down and just listen to some soothing music, maybe just watch a relaxing show. But, you know, I'll just make sure that I'm absolutely not sitting up for the few hours before I need to leave for the airport. Let's talk about getting from your home or your hotel if you're, you know, taking a red eye home from your travel, but getting from home to the airport. I'll just use that as an example here. Okay, number one, you might be driving yourself, that's fine, you've got total control. But even if you are driving yourself and parking at the airport, absolutely have a plan B. And what I mean by that is know how quickly you can get an Uber or a taxi or a neighbor or, you know, a spouse or family member living in the house to be able to jump in their car and take you. I prefer, for the most part, for red-eye flights to actually use a professional, and I organize transport. I want to be picked up, taken, and dropped off. Again, this is all about me staying relaxed and lowering my anxiety levels. I've had a private car driver for over 20 years now, between business and leisure traveling, and he is so reliable, and it's a little running joke between us. But here's the thing, even though I really trust him, on the evening of, around the time I'm kind of having that light meal, I'll actually text or phone him to confirm that he's still good to pick me up in a few hours. Because you know what? You never know what can happen. And I've had the occasion, not with him, but with a car service, not picking me up or not picking me up on time. The reason why I use a professional is I know that family members will offer, you know, to take you to the airport. And yes, if you've got a spouse or a family member living in the house, that may be an option. But make sure they're going to be home on the day well before you need to leave for the airport. So my plan B is always to have another, you know, professional, you know, car service, whether that be Uber or taxi, you know, on standby that I can, you know, get real quick. But the real key is I allow extra time if I am going to end up in a plan B situation. And you might say, well, but Raewyn, I'd rather be, you know, taking an extra 15 or 30 minutes, you know, napping or lying down at home rather than having to sit around the airport. That is definitely a choice that you need to make, and it's a bit of a trade-off. I've chosen, and always been a great believer with all the flying I've done, is I have control over getting to that airport. Once I'm there, it's up to the airline, the airport, the weather gods to take care of me. So I would rather get to the airport and have a little bit extra time there, knowing that I'm in the right place at the right time. Hey, if you've been enjoying the video so far, would you do me a big favor? There's a little icon subscribe in the bottom corner of your phone or your screen. Could you just tap that and subscribe? I'd love you to have joined the channel, and you will have other videos available to you. Also, if you'd like to give me a like, if you're particularly getting value out of this video, or leave a comment, I would so appreciate that. Now, let's talk about the airport and the flight. We're almost there at the airport. What are you going to wear? Ladies, we always come back to our closet, our wardrobe. You know, we want to look good, we want to feel good. The number one thing on a red-eye flight is to be comfortable. Number one rule, you have got to be comfortable if you're going to be able to be physically, you know, able to get any real rest at all. Number two, keep your clothing really simple. And number three, use layers. And the reason why I suggest the layers is, again, you're flying in the middle of the night. Now remember, our amazing pilot and co-pilot are up the front, staying awake and, you know, getting us safely to our destination. Which means, you know, they again typically like to have the air cooler because it stays fresh, it keeps them alert, which means, ladies, I don't know about you, but that means I'm probably going to be freezing sitting in my seat in the cabin of the plane. So definitely a layer system to combat temperature. The other trick with actually making sure you have a layer system on a red-eye flight is to get comfortable and be able to use clothing or those layers as padding or a pillow up against a wall, against the window, whatever that might be. So again, comfort first and then layers. Okay. Now, you're going to ask me, well, Raewyn, what do you do? Well, number one is actually I start with my feet, because if my feet are cold and I'm not comfortable, nothing else is going to work on my body or my brain. So, I often talk about it, and you'll see in the link below in the description under this video that I love my Allbirds sneakers. I've got currently 4 pairs of them at the moment, 2 indoor and 2 outdoor. And I love them because they're wool, they're sustainable materials, they keep my feet warm, they are so durable. Wearing them is so comfortable. I've never ever had a blister. It's literally like putting a pair of slippers on. So, and by the way, just to be full disclosure, when you click on the link or copy and paste the link, it's going to take you to the site. I am an Amazon associate, and I may make a small commission if you choose to purchase. The next thing is I always wear as much as possible natural fibers, so I'll have really comfortable loose pants. Depending on the location I'm going to and the temperature, I love harem pants because they're cotton and they're comfortable, but any kind of loose pant, just not a heavy denim. Then I will typically have a simple cotton t-shirt and then some kind of light sweater on top. And then, depending again on the destination, I might have a light jacket, a soft one preferably, but I have taken denim jackets because they tend to wad up good and things. Or I might have a vest, because a sleeveless vest, and definitely always have my pashmina. And the last thing I do is I have a baseball cap. And I always have a baseball cap, and this specifically for this type of flight, I often say take a hat that can swish down. In this case specifically, I recommend a baseball cap if you're comfortable wearing one, ladies, because for a couple of reasons. One, I've got very fine hair, as you can see, fly away, and it just goes dead flat with the atmosphere and the humidity and the air pressure in a plane, and then leaning up against staticky things. So I look like a train wreck when I get off, so I can just scrunch that baseball cap on and I'm good to go. The other reason why I deliberately use a baseball cap is the fact that, I like having a window seat to sleep on a red-eye flight. And there's still a little bit of lighting that runs, a strip of lighting that runs down kind of the ceiling wall beside me. So it creates a bit of a glare, which can kind of really disrupt me from being able to actually get a little nap or shut-eye in. So I can always put my baseball cap on, and actually, again, I always have an eye mask. But I find the beak of the baseball cap, or the peak, not sure which way you use that, is really good for cutting off glare and light, even over and above what you might have with an eye mask. And last but not least, I always take my sunglasses. And the reason I do that is, remember, a red-eye flight arrives early in the morning at your destination. And so the sun is often rising, and at that point you're being asked, or you're lifting the blinds if you're by a window, which I am. So I have my sunglasses at the ready to put those on just to cut the glare while I'm still waking up. And a little vanity here as well, ladies. It's actually disguising the fact that, in fact, my eyes are now red and scratchy having taken a red-eye flight. So keep it simple, layered, and natural fibers, and you will be good to go and being as comfortable in your clothing as possible. You're now at the airport. So the idea is, get through security, immigration, if you happen to be doing some kind of cross-border flight. And if you're lucky enough to have an airline lounge access, I would thoroughly recommend taking full advantage of that, because again, it'll be quiet, the seats are more comfortable. If you really do need still like perhaps a little snack or something, you've got that at the ready. Now, a little bit of a warning about airline lounges for red-eye flights. Some airline lounges and airlines, depending on the airport, all those factors, may actually in fact not be open, or they close about an hour and a half ahead of your flight. So if you are going to or do want to take advantage of the lounge, do either phone ahead, look online to actually find out what the hours of the lounge are, because I don't want you being disappointed, okay? If you can't get into an airline lounge, then a couple of things you can do. One, you can make your way to the gate, and you will find for the most part that your fellow passengers on a red-eye flight, you know, they're not in the chitty-chatty mode. It's normally a quiet time and people are quiet at the gate. But in case there's too much light or it's a bit, you know, a little bit rowdier than you're expected, then I just like to sit one gate away. I can still hear the announcements, but I'm just kind of like chilling. And the whole idea is just to literally zone out. And you might be able to put your feet up, you know, if you find a couple of seats and, you know, really stretch out. I have not been above, ladies, sitting on the floor and actually chilling out there. Again, I just want to keep stretched out as long as possible. Okay, it's time finally to board your flight. Congratulations, you've made it here. And not only have you been surviving to get to this point, but you've been taking every advantage and laying the groundwork to be able to thrive and actually come out feeling actually pretty good at the end of your flight. Now, couple of things about boarding. Yes, we know, depends on your ticket, etc., and your flight status, what zone you're going to board in. But even if you're boarding in one of those zones that are further down, you know, the pack, do be one of the first people in the zone, because the sooner you get on board, the sooner you can get comfortable and bedded down, stick the baseball cap on, put the eye mask on, wrap yourself up in your pashmina, and you can already be napping before they even close the doors of the plane to depart. So thoroughly recommend that, you know, board as soon as you can within the guidelines of obviously the zones on your ticket. I've mentioned a couple of times that I deliberately choose a window seat on a red-eye flight. Now that's again a bit of a trade-off, because ladies, if you're at, you know, if we're in economy and we've got the 3 seats typically, you know, it's like, yeah, but you know, our bladders, let's face it, sometimes demand us to be able to get up and not during the night. I trade that off. Normally for red-eye flights I can get by, okay, and I would rather have that extra comfort of the window and the wall to lean up against. Bonus tip here, ladies. Sounds a little OCD, but I do always take my wet wipes with me on board a plane, and I just discreetly kind of wipe down the wall, because you don't know who else and whose head has been smushed up against that wall before you. But I find actually just having that, and that's when, again, I can use my pashmina, I can use that soft jacket to lean up. Now, one of the things I haven't mentioned to date is actually taking a neck pillow. Now, personally, I've got a very long neck, so neck pillows, they're just extra bulk and they don't do anything for me. My head's still flopping around like crazy. So, but if a neck pillow works for you, absolutely take it. But the trick is, if you haven't already brought one, and I put a link below, again, as an Amazon associate, don't choose one with kind of the velour plush stuff. Again, stay away from the synthetic fabrics, because it'll get all staticky, and you know, either your hair's going to be all fly away for sure, or your skin gets itchy. Make sure you have like a good cotton or other natural fiber covered neck pillow. It's worth your while. Depending what, you know, whether you're in economy or business class, there will still be an in-flight service on a red-eye flight. But here's the trick. You can always travel spot an experienced traveler and flyer, because they will bed down, and that is me. I've got the baseball cap, the eye mask on, headset in for some soothing music to block out the white noise, and I am out of it. I do not want to wait for an in-flight service. If you really want to stay hydrated, I recommend grabbing a bottle of water at the airport before you actually get on board your flight. And last but not least, if you really can't sleep, time to pull out the iPad, the phone, or whatever to watch a movie or listen to a podcast or something. Now, the other thing you want to make sure is that you do want to wake up in a good state if you do manage to nap or nod off. And so again, this is one of those things that I like to make sure, like if I hear the call sign saying that there's only 15 minutes to, landing time, that is when I make sure I push myself, even if I'm having a really good nap, I push myself to wake up and be alert before I land. And another thing here is, this is the thriving part. You're going to see typically a sunrise as you descend, and that is a great thing to wake up to. It also puts you in just this amazing kind of zen state, but you're starting to re-energize and refresh. So don't, take a full advantage of making sure you see that sunrise and that you're alert. And like I said, if you're feeling like kind of scratching everything, put the baseball cap on, put the sunglasses on, wipe your hands, just do a little bit of freshening up, even if you're just sitting at your seat, okay? You can definitely do that, because you do want to be alert when you start to deplane and get into the airport. And the other thing about landing, so your landing is all about that descent, taking advantage of the, morning sunrise. And one of the advantages where I think you can thrive is often you're arriving so early in the morning that there aren't many people in the airport. So you're not kind of thrown into this hustle and bustle. You can kind of ease your way into the day. Last but not least, after you've landed, you're at your destination. Congratulations, you're here. You arrived in the morning. Whether you're in a foreign location, visiting family, friends, whatever, I highly, 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 strongly recommend, ladies, stay up. Do not get to wherever you're going and go, oh, I'll check into the hotel and I'll take a nap and shower. No, take a shower, yes, freshen up, but do not fall asleep. You will beat the jet lag. And you'll be re-energized within 12 to 18 hours if you stay up all day. Trust me on this one. I've done it so many times over the decade. Again, if you've really enjoyed and had value out of watching the video today, please subscribe to my channel or give a like, or even drop a comment on your observations. How do you not only survive but thrive on a red-eye flight? What particular things do you take into account that you're over 50 and things aren't the same anymore? I would love to hear that.